Hi folks, welcome to my studio, the great outdoors. I'm going to be doing a Q&A today, questions supplied by my community, and I want to be assisted by my Kiwi friend. You can see just over there. We're just trying to find a quiet spot where we can hunker down and hopefully not be disturbed and be out the wind as well. So, see you in a moment. So I have Rick with me, who's going to ask the questions. So what is the first one we have?
What got you interested in backpacking?
I guess this, the great outdoors itself. So I was brought up in an urban environment and this was my escape. I was very lucky that my parents were into hiking and camping as well. So yeah, this was the start. Oh, wow, these chairs. They're low down, but they're nice and comfortable.
Yeah,
Could really go to sleep actually.
Yeah, probably could. Bit like wild camping. So to follow on from that question that I asked you earlier, Paul asked you on your YouTube community channel, what was it that first stirred your passion for the outdoors and for backpacking in particular? I think that might give people a bit more of an answer.
Great question, Paul. I really enjoyed that question. As I mentioned, I was brought up in an urban environment, and my parents would take me hiking and camping, obviously in the holiday period, and that stirred my interest. But in terms of where my passion came from, so in my youth, started to, what shall I say, escape from my parents. And whereas we used to go hiking and camping in the Peak District, North Wales, I decided that I would go and explore the Lake District. And when I got to the Lake District, I was really blown out by how wondrous it was in terms of the scale of the mountains and the lakes. And I just enjoyed the solitude. And that's really, I think it was that independence that created the passion.
Josh asks, what's the best pint you've ever had on a trail?
I love this question. It really made me laugh when I saw it for the first time. The best pint is the pint that you have at the end of the day or the end of the trail to kind of celebrate. That is the best pint. And I'm so grateful that I get to experience that so many times. But if I was really pushed to choose one in particular, I will always remember the pint of Guinness I had in Ireland at the Dying Cow. That was a great, different experience.
3 people asked a very similar question. Sam, Mazza and Sue basically asked what trail you enjoyed the most, or what's your most favorite trail.
Yeah. When it comes to thinking about the different trails that I've done, I start to see with the ones I've enjoyed the most, a common thread coming out of them. So they're the things that kind of drive them and gives me the passion to want to do them again to some extent. And the 3 I would choose would be the Pembrokeshire Coastal Path, Coast to Coast, and the Pennine Way. And I'm sure what you can see within those, they're all long distant paths, kind of looking at 150 to 200 miles. And I like the challenge of that. Can I thrive and strive within those? I may have got that the wrong way around. So yeah, what am I overcoming? What are the challenges? And then surviving to the end. If I had to choose one out of those 3 that I probably would like to go back and do again, I think it would be the Pembrokeshire Coastal Path. I really enjoyed that one. I think I was lucky with the weather, but yeah, it's one I just really felt I was overcoming challenges and thrived with it.
We've got 2 questions here, Nigel, from the user called Baldyman1965.
Hi, Baldyman.
The first one is, do you ever just have a day out walking up a hill? And the second one is, do you ever find recording your walks a hindrance or is it just part of the journey?
So yes, I do go for walks more often with the family. So I'll be with possibly my wife or my son, obviously in the past with Victoria, my daughter, and they were just enjoyable shared moments. Walk to the pub or walk up a mountain, and I really treasure those moments. And then sometimes I'm halfway into that walk and I go, oh, I wish I'd have brought my camera. And it's kind of like, you can't win. But I also respect our own privacy. And then there's other times I go on a walk with my camera. I've done some hikes that I've actually started. I've done maybe a day or two of that particular hike. And this isn't working. For whatever reason, the weather may be, or the points of interest are just not there. But then I sometimes wonder, if I hadn't have taken the camera, would it have worked just as a walk?
Sam asks, what made you decide to create a YouTube channel?
Good question, Sam. I've been asked that a number of times by various people along the way. So my original plan was that I retired in February of 2020, and then on March the 23rd, we went into lockdown. So I was like, oh, what do I do now? And so I started recording local hikes, following a suggestion from my daughter. And she started saying, well, why don't you put them on YouTube? Which is what I did. And I was quite surprised at the interest. So it just carried on from there. And what do I say? A few years later, I'm stood in a quarry thinking, what am I doing here? Talking about YouTube. So thank you.
Do you have a preference between solo versus companion walking?
I say straight from the off, I enjoy both. I really do. I enjoy the solitude and starting off in that way. And sometimes I feel the need within me to go and do that. But equally, when I meet people, I just enjoy the companionship and sharing the same passion that we do. I recall being in Turkey and meeting 3 Turkish people and spending a whole week with them. And it was great, the insights they gave to their country, their culture, their history. I just enjoyed that so much. And so, yes, I enjoy both equally.
This is an age-related question from YouTube user Moz. What kind of exercise regime do you have to keep you fit for the trail?
As I mentioned before, I do local trails with friends and family, but also I like and enjoy running. And I do that virtually every day when I'm not on the trail, anything up to 5 miles. And then at the weekend, I do enjoy doing a good park run. The other thing that I think is important, particularly as you grow older, is having, as I do, a monthly sports massage. Really, that's about it.
Are you ever recognised in public?
Yes, it does happen. Luckily for me, not too often. So I can think of 2 instances from this year. One, I was recognised on the Snowdonia Slate Trail, although I have to say they couldn't quite remember the channel, but they just said it was that guy who goes to Ireland, which I'm quite happy with. And then the other instance was I was marshalling for parkrun, and 2 ladies stopped and said, "Aren't you Ambling Trails?" Of course, yes. And they said, "Oh, let's have a selfie. My husband would be so jealous that I've met Ambling Trails." But I really do enjoy sharing the moment with people I meet who recognise me. So if you see me on the trail, grab your sticker.